afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to everybody that's been to other webinars this week. On my other webinars, I've given a disclaimer that I may be having internet problems, and been lucky so far, and I haven't, but today I appear to, so sorry if I maybe drop out a little bit periodically. I'm going to try to keep an eye on it. Like I said, I'm Karen Rechtin. I've been a Counterpoint consultant for 20 some years, and before that I ran a business that used Counterpoint in a five location chain. So I've worked in retail my whole life. I know pretty much about all aspects of retail and using Counterpoint in retail, and so I hope that's helpful to everybody. Like Ryan said, if you have questions during the presentation, put them in the Q&A, and then, you know, if they're timely to the topic we're talking about, we'll try to address those at the time. Otherwise, we'll just stop from time to time and answer the questions. So with that, we're going to talk about order processing in Counterpoint. And primarily it's around order management, but not knowing what level of education everybody has about orders in general in Counterpoint. I'm just going to talk about regular point of sale orders, dropship orders, normal point of sale batch processing, and then we'll talk about order management as well. So we'll sort of cover the gamut. And it's a very timely topic now because a lot of businesses aren't able to do their brick and mortar store anymore. Most of us aren't anyway. And so if we're taking online orders, or we have websites that have increased volume of orders, this is a really good way to process orders in large volume instead of one by one. So with that, I'm going to share my Counterpoint here. Can you see it, Ryan?
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay. This is, let's see here. Okay, this is a standard touch screen in Counterpoint. So this is in a demo system, so it may not look exactly like yours does, but I just want to review, like at a high level, how orders work in standard ticket entry. So when we take an order for a product, we have three different types of orders we can use. So there's a regular order line, and products that we order are generally things that we have in stock and that we stock as a rule. So for example, we may normally carry a particular product and we just don't have any in stock right now, or with somebody orders 5 and we only have 3. That might be an order line. Then we have back orders. So in that last example, if somebody orders 5 and we only have 3, we can fill 3 and we can back order 2. So we have a back order line type. We also have a special order line type. And a special order line type is usually an item that we don't stock. It would need to be an inventory item set up in Counterpoint, but it's something that we don't stock, that we special order for the customer. And then we also have drop ship items. For order lines, back order lines, and special order lines, we can define the amount of deposit that we require from the customer in order to place that order. So for example, for a special order item, because it's something you don't normally stock, you may want to require 100% deposit from the customer in order to place that order. If it's an item that you normally carry, you may require no deposit, or you may require any percentage of a deposit that you want. You may want to get 50% just so that they, you know, they're more, people generally come and get their orders, but sometimes they don't come back to get their orders. So you want to take enough money to make it worth your while to order for that person. Same thing with back orders. When you add those different line types to a ticket, an order line by default is aqua. When an item goes to back order, it's purple or lavender. A special order line, I think is yellow if I remember right, and I don't have a special order button. And then a dropship line is a blue or a darker purple. So you can tell by the color of the line type on the transaction what kind of a order line it is. So then when you take that, we'll just do one real quick here. We'll just do an order. And then when we go to payment, tell it how we're paying our deposit. It brings up a window that looks a little bit different than our normal payment window. The window is split into two, and the top portion of it is for if we had a split ticket, like items that are cash and carry versus items that are order. And then also Counterpoint deals with the deposit portion of the transaction on a ticket and then leaves the order part of the transaction on an order document. So in our Counterpoint setup, we define what kind of a minimum deposit we require. And so if we click the Pay Minimum button, it's going to calculate what our minimum deposit required for that type of order line is. In this case, we don't have any minimum required, so we could complete this order with no deposit. But let's just say that we're going to take $200 as a deposit on this order. And it shows we took our $200 deposit and our amount due will be $235.99. And so I'll complete that order. If we're going to ship it to the customer, we can collect a ship to address. And then this is an order in the system. And like I said, it's going to split this in the background anyway into two different types of documents, a ticket to account for the deposit payment and then the order itself. So then when that merchandise comes in and the customer comes in to pick it up, we can go to order processing. And we can find our order and we can enter the order number, or we can scan a barcode or look it up, look up by customer name, lots of different ways to find it. It'll show it to you in the background. And then we can release the order. If we had multiple lines on the order, which you can have as many order lines on the transaction as you want. It wants to know how much of the deposit that customer has paid are we applying to this particular release. In this case, it's only one line, so we're applying all of it. And then you can see it turns it into a sale transaction at this point, applies the deposit, and tells you what the amount due is to complete the transaction. So at this point, the customer would pay the balance, and it would turn into a sale at that point. So when we're taking the order initially, it's not a sale. When we release the order, it becomes a sale at that time. So that's on a one-off basis. That's how sort of the flow of order processing goes. And like I said, the different line types: order, back order, special order, and what I'm going to talk about real quickly now is dropship. Dropship allows you to order a product for a customer and have it drop shipped to the customer from the vendor. And so it works the same way, except it's got some enhancements to it. So if we go back here to our order functions and say we're going to add a drop ship line to our order, of course, we'd want to take our customer information, but, and we select our line that we're going to drop ship. When we go to complete this drop ship order, it's going to require payment in full. So we can't define to take a less payment for a drop ship. We have to take it in full because it's going to be shipped from the vendor to the customer. So we want to make sure we've got all their money up front. When we complete a drop ship order, it automatically creates a purchase request to the primary vendor. So earlier I set one up for demonstration purposes. So I did a dropship order earlier, and it is, all dropship orders go into a dropship batch. They don't have to, but I think it's easier to deal with them if they're in a separate batch. And then I can find my dropship order here, and you can see it says that it's a dropship purchase request for order number 70036. So that's my point of sale order for the dropship. And if I look at my point of sale order now, it will tell me what purchase request is associated with it. You still need to post this purchase request just like you normally would to make it a purchase order. Once you post it, you no longer can edit or change the point of sale order associated with it, because we're assuming when we post it, we're actually making the order with the vendor.
Karen,
so then when the vendor ships the product and you get your notification that it's shipped, you would go in and you would do a receiving of the dropship order. And when you do the receiving, it will automatically release that order in point of sale orders. So you don't have to go into orders and release it. It will automatically release and be in your tickets to post at the end of the day. So then forever in history and everything, the point of sale order and the purchase order number are always associated with each other. And I see a message here, my screen sharing paused.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was just me because I'm having internet issues too, but yeah, we're seeing the Counterpoint screen still.
Okay. Well, let me try this again then. Better?
We're not seeing the screen yet, it's just black. Counterpoint came up, but.
All right, let me try.
There we go, we see the Counterpoint purchase request.
Purchase request, yeah. Okay, good. Okay.
And then I had a question real quick.
Yes.
Is there a way to flag an item as dropship? Meaning if it gets scanned into POS, it automatically becomes a dropship? We get a lot of summer and it becomes difficult for staff to know what is a dropship item and what is not.
I don't think we could automatically make it a dropship line, but what we could do is put a pop-up note on the item so that when that item was scanned, the note would automatically pop up and remind the cashier to turn it into a dropship line. I think that'd be the best way to handle that.
Okay, yes, he does that now with notes, so thank you. And then Arlene asked, we do not process POs through Counterpoint. Our POs are processed through QB. I am presuming that we cannot process dropship orders without using the PO functionality.
I mean, you could. You would still have to go through the motions of it in Counterpoint, even though you're actually doing your order in QuickBooks. You could still just do the pieces of it in Counterpoint that you needed to for just those dropship lines. But you actually like have to do the receiving of the purchase order in Counterpoint in order to get the dropship released.
Okay. That's all the questions we have right now.
Okay, all right. A couple other notes on dropship. There's a couple of setup things that you have to do to make dropship function. So in setup system company, you have to tell it you're using dropship. We have to set up a dropship clearing account because the inventory is never actually coming into your system, so the dollar value of it passes through that dropship clearing account. And then we have to add that to the inventory account codes. And then we have to add the buttons on your touch screen as well. So a little bit of setup involved, but not too much. Okay, so that's dropship. Next step is, before we get to order management, before we had order management in Counterpoint, they put in sort of like a mini order management that is called batch processing. And so batch processing allows you to go through the steps of, not all the steps of processing a batch of orders, but we can go through and we can print a batch of orders, and then we can do what's called a fill back order, and it basically prints out a report of all of the items that are on orders that we have stock to fill. And then you can go in and manually take steps to fill those orders. We can do picking of orders, and that will actually print pick tickets. And then we can do release. So this functionality seems to work fine for like less than maybe 10 or 15 orders. When you get into bigger batches of orders, it seems to be a little bit more efficient to go through all the process in order management. One thing just to note here, even though I did just say it's for smaller batches of orders, we have found in some cases, if you're processing mass batches of orders like 100 or more, there is a step in order management that I'll point out when we get there that does take a while to go through the whole process, because it's updating screens and it's updating files in the background. And sometimes it's quicker to take the order processing through the picking step in batch processing, and then pick it all up from that point on in order management. And like I said, when we get to that in order management, I'll show you. So here we can print orders. We can print the list of items that we can fill with our current stock. And we can print pick tickets. And then we can do a batch release. And when we release the order, that's what turns them into sales transactions. So same steps that we're going to look at in order management. So I'm not going to actually go through the steps here. So for order management, it is meant to be for large groups of orders, mass processing all at once. It's really good for mail order, telephone order, e-commerce orders. We can process these orders in order management no matter where they come from. So they could come from manual orders that have been keyed in over the phone with customers in point of sale orders. We can import batches of orders from a website. You know, all the different places that orders could potentially be gotten from, they're all still available in point of sale orders, but running them through order management just lets us process them all at once, or batches of them all at once. And so there's a few setups that we have to do for that as well in order to get to order management. We have to, in each user record, we have to tell it that that user is authorized to use order management. And then in setup point of sale order management, we have to define whether or not we will process partial orders or if we will only process complete orders. And then we define also what our default store station and drawer for orders are. So when we are going to use order management, we'll start with point of sale and then order management. And then it defaults to the store station and drawer that we put in our control settings, but you can change this at any time. And so this is the store station and drawer that all of our orders that are released are going to release into. Well, guess I can't do that until I get rid of this. Try this again. Okay, this is what our order management window looks like. I do have some orders already in here so that we have some things to work with. First of all, we've got our own toolbar up here at the top. So we can edit orders, we can take deposits, we can enter, we can view all kinds of different things. Also here with locations, we can decide what locations we're going to process orders for. So if we've got multiple stores taking orders, we can either process those locations one at a time, or we can process them all together. Or we can do it by location groups, or you can select just one specific order. Generally, we're doing it for all locations for a specific location. And then we've got all of our tabs, and all the tabs here are all go through to completion. So it defaults to starting at the pick tab. I will show, first let me just back up here and show you the fill back order tab. So any tickets that have back order lines on them, so that's something that we normally stock, but we just don't have enough in stock to fill their order, went to a back order. Now we've gotten shipments in, and we want the system to go in and fill all of the orders that it can with all the merchandise that we've gotten in. Go to the fill back order tab, and if you check, just click this button here, it will assume it we're selecting all rather than going down and checking all the different ones you want to process. So if we do this and we click the button to suggest fill quantity, it will tell us what lines it can fill. So now those back order lines won't be back ordered anymore, and that ticket should move into the picking phase. So what our different phases are pick. These are the ones that we want to create pick tickets for, to send our people out to pick the merchandise for these orders. Pick verify is when they bring back those pick tickets with the quantities that they've actually picked. And if we have any discrepancies, we can go into the order and modify that. Pack is actually going to create a packing slip for the quantities that we are shipping the customer. At that point too, the order needs to be paid in full. And we'll talk about that when we get to that. Release is when we turn those orders into sales. And then all the orders that have completed all of those stages and are ready to be posted will show up in the completed tab. And then once we post at end of day, they leave this completely, and only orders that are open to process will show up in these tabs anymore. So our next step here is, let's say we want to pick all of these orders. So again, I can just click the box at the top and it will automatically select all of them. Also, just a note, if you select one of these orders, down at the bottom, in this bottom tab here, you can see all the line items that are on the orders. Also, if there are any notes about the order, you can see that in the notes tab. So we'll go ahead and we'll pick. And it wants to know if we want to do picking tickets. And so this is what the standard pick ticket looks like, what the items are, the quantity and then a space for the person who picked it to write what they actually pick. It's going to ask me this for every order, so I'm just going to tell it no from now on. Well, sorry about that. Okay, and then it's going to also give us a report at the end of all of the orders that it picked. And all these different reports and forms are optional. You don't have to print these out for each one. So it has left the 2 orders here that cannot pick. We apparently don't have quantity for these. So then we go to the Pick Verify tab. Our people have gone out, they've picked the merchandise, they've brought their forms back. And if we need to modify the quantities of anything that we've picked, we can go in and we can actually select one of the orders and let's see here. We could go in and we can change the quantity that we've actually picked. So we can make our modifications on whatever orders that we need to here for what we're actually shipping. And if we go to the Pack tab, and sorry, my internet keeps going in and out, sorry. Let me do this again, Pick Verify. And I've got my report again of all the orders that we Pick Verified. So they've all now moved over to the Pack tab. I select all of those, tell it we want packing slips. So we'll just look at one of those. So the packing slip is what you would actually put in the shipment. And at that point, at the point that we pack, the orders need to be paid in full. So when you initially take the customer order, you would either, when you took the customer order, you would either take deposit in full, or you would take their credit card number, and I didn't show you in the order, but there's a checkbox to, if you only take a deposit, there's a checkbox to use that credit card for the final payment. So at the point that you do the packing step, it will go ahead and it will do a credit card authorization for each transaction that still has a balance due. So it's not actually going to pack until the order's paid in full. So here I'm getting an error because I have serialized items on some of my orders, and I didn't put any in any serial numbers, so it actually didn't pack those. So they're still sitting in the packing tab waiting for me to enter the serial numbers. But if I go to the release tab now, it shows the one order that's gotten through all the process. I can select that, click release, and at that point, it leaves the order processing and it becomes a sale.
Aaron, we have a question.
Okay.
Does the checkbox to use credit card for final payment add the card/token to the customer record?
No, it's only for that particular order.
Thanks.
But it is the token.
That was it.
Okay. Okay. So I've now released that one. There are no more to release. If I go to the completed tab, it will show the order I completed today, and then a couple others that I completed other days that have not been posted yet. So once we do our end of day posting, these will go away, and then we will just be left with all of our new orders that have come in that need to be processed. So you can see by doing this all at once, instead of doing it one by one in point of sale orders, or even in the smaller batch processing, this really allows you to push through a whole lot of orders at one time. Very helpful during these times of online and phone orders. And that's pretty much the order process. We also have the ability then to, if you're shipping, you can enter in tracking numbers. And that is under point of sale tracking numbers. You can either manually enter them. I'll just pick a document here. You can put in the tracking number here, or there's a way to import your tracking numbers as well. If you get a batch from your shipping software that includes the sales transaction number and then the tracking number, you can import those directly into the tickets as well. Then when customers call, you can give them tracking numbers, or you could send an email with a tracking number when you do a shipment. And that's about all there is to it. Are there any other questions?
Great, thanks, Karen. We don't have anything right now, but maybe we'll give it a minute or two if anybody has any remaining questions. Here we go. This is from Shelly. We offer shipping from our museum shop, but we just ship the item the guest brings up to the register. It gets set aside and then packed, and we require full payment up front. What would be the best practice for this scenario? Would batch processing be better than order management?
So are you entering it as a sale or an order at the time you take the customer's money?
An order.
Do they actually bring it to the register?
Yeah, it looks, she said they bring the item up to the register, yes.
Okay. Can I think about it and let you know?
Sure thing. We'll get back to you.
How many orders a day do you have like that? Or I can call you tomorrow morning. We can talk about it.
She says maybe 5.
If it's only 5, I'd probably do them either through batch processing or manually, one by one. Probably batch processing. I think order management has too many steps. I don't think you need to go through all that for 5 a day.
All right. Shelly will reach out if you have further questions.
Okay.
Here we go. Shelly says, yeah, we've been doing order management, but it seems more of a hassle than anything.
Yeah, for that few and for the pieces you need, it probably is overkill.
Nick had a suggestion for some additional training, and I just want to mention that's a great, I've received a couple emails along the lines of additional training. So our plan is to keep this going in the coming weeks. Probably not as many as we did this week, but we do plan on doing additional training throughout this month, I would say. So if you have ideas and topics you'd like to learn more about, please feel free to send them my way. My email address is rparks at retailcontrolsystems.com. Thanks. Does anyone else have any questions? Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Enjoy the
Let
rest
us
of your
know if you have
afternoon.
more questions. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.